guys, welcome back to Simply Fujica, a place for budding and aspiring entrepreneurs. Guys, I want to welcome you to another week, and if you're new to this channel, welcome. Guys, today I have another good one for you. A lot of you are asking me, how did I actually fund my home care agency? So the first couple of times I was asked that, I was like, okay, let me just answer it and we'll go from there. And I've done a couple of videos on that, so I'll make sure to link those videos. Because I definitely talk about my experience and how we started our home care agency and all of that good stuff. So I'll make sure to link that for you up at the top, and then I'll make sure to include it in the description below. But I'm starting to get it more and more, so I figured let me do a video on that. So today's video, we're going to discuss how are you funding, how can you fund your home care agency. So guys, if that's something you need a little bit more information about, then stay tuned. So guys, I do want to give you a little backdrop about me, especially if you're new to this channel. I am part of the Great Resignation. I just decided that I wanted a little bit more out of my life. I did have a 9-to-5, and it was just one of those things. I really just every day felt like, man, this cannot be it. This cannot be my life. I worked hard to get to the point where I just wasn't fulfilled. I just wasn't happy. And so as I was working, I was given 110% every day at that job. But after that job and on weekends, my part-time job was creating and standing up my home care agency, and initially getting licensed for my home care agency. So I think that brings me to the first tip. Along with me creating my policies and procedures and going through that licensing process, a part of that was kind of, setting money aside, so that's my first tip for you guys. If you are working entrepreneurs, okay, because sometimes we have to kind of keep that 9-to-5 going until you can leave that full-time job. A lot of you will be like me, which is working during the day and then trying to, create our dreams at, the second part of the day. So, literally every check that I was giving, I made sure that I funneled some aside to make sure that I would be able to kind of pay as I go. So that is your first tip. Pay as you go. And guys, remember, I always suggest that you do a business plan, because if you do a business plan before you start the licensing process, you will know all of your expenses. You will know what it's going to take for you to kind of get the home care agency off the ground. So with that being said, as you're working and you're getting paid every 2 weeks, or as you're getting paid monthly, you kind of know how much you kind of need to skim from the top once you take care of your other priorities. So that's what I did. I literally would just, as soon as I got paid, I knew the amount that I had to set aside to ensure that as I was going through the licensing steps, and for sure making sure that I had that licensing payment ready for submission with my licensing packet. That's how I did it. I paid as I went. So that's your first tip. The second tip I have for you guys, and guys, listen, credit is something that you cannot afford to play with. None of us can play with that. A lot of times we will need to utilize credit at different junctures in our life. So this is something you don't want to take lightly, but credit cards. Some of us have, I remembered a couple of years back now, I was going through a lull at that time, and I can't even remember the circumstances, but for some reason I needed a little bit of extra cash. Man, I went and applied for a credit card that was able to give me a sizable limit. Now, the reason why I really caution you in doing that is those interest rates are not to be fooled with. And so I would never suggest that as a first option. However, it is an option if you know the situation that you're going through is short term, and that of course that you'll be able to pay that off rather quickly. I knew that I had money coming later, so that I knew I could pay it off in a lump sum payment. And so I think that's why initially at that time I just needed that little bit of cash to keep me going prior to those funds coming in that I was expecting. So I say that to say, always, 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 and I know this is not a finance video, always, always, if you can, pay more than the minimum that they're asking you to pay. I hear some people say double that payment if you can, and as soon as you are able, make sure you pay off that balance. But I have heard of people using existing lines of credit, applying for additional credit cards to fund their dream. This goes without saying, make sure that this is a decision that you have already made in terms of you are going to see this home care agency through. You have made that commitment to yourself that you're going to see it through. So if you know that you've moved beyond a passion project and this is something that you sincerely, wholeheartedly want to pursue, then this may be an option for you. Guys, the third tip that I have for you here is an SBA loan. Some cities have more active chapters than others. I know I was fortunate to be a part of an SBA, and I do mean Small Business Association, for those of you who are not aware. I was fortunate that I have an active chapter, and they really are, you know, doing seminars, really putting on classes to ensure that small businesses are thriving in their cities. And so part of that is funding. So I will make sure to put a link at the bottom so that you can pursue that if that's something that you're interested in. Now, I am thankful we did not have to go that route, so I can't share any personal experiences with you guys, but I do know that it's an option, and I have heard of several people, and I know several people who have received those small business loans, and they're opening and standing up their businesses every day. So this is something you really and truly want to take a look into. The fourth tip I have for you guys, and this is something that I also did have to do, is I did have to pull a little bit of money from my savings. Now, I will say this, and my husband helps me out with this. You don't want to take from your future self, right? So the plan is, this is a loan to yourself. This is money that you are loaning yourself, that you have to make a commitment that you'll put that money back. So what I always recommend to people is, just like you would have a saving, just like you would have any other plan, put together a plan of how you're going to pay yourself back. And you have to make a commitment that you are not, because guys, things will come up. That purse will go on sale. Another bill will come up. Something is going to happen when you're ready to start paying yourself back. But you have got to make the commitment that you are going to pay yourself back. And that, you know, nothing will deter you from doing that. But if you are blessed enough to have the savings, because a lot of people look at it as that money is kind of just sitting there. And so if you can make it work for you, and in turn, you know, by investing in yourself and then anticipating that bigger return, then again, it's a decision that you would have to make, but personally, I went ahead and made that decision. And yes, I have paid myself back. Guys, the fifth and final tip that I have for you today is the PPP loans. Now, I know some of you are like, well, wait a minute, will they give us PPP loans if we're just not standing this up? So again, this is not something that I have a personal experience with. I have not had to apply for a PPP loan. And I do believe that you do have to be in existence. So your business does have to be in existence. I will say this, because even though I haven't had one, I know some folks in my family that have had them. And I will say this, because some of you, when you're reaching out to me, you've already stood up the business, right? So you've already started the business. You already have some expenses that you've incurred. And some of you are saying, hey, I'm starting to see I'm kind of running out of that money. So if you're paying salaries, you know, if you're paying rent and things of that nature, that may qualify for that PPP loan. And so again, I will make sure to include that in the description at the bottom for you guys, so that you could look into it. You know, the worst thing that they can tell you is you don't qualify. But again, these are just tips and different avenues and options that you could utilize in funding your business. Okay guys, that was my final tip. I hope that this was a value add for you guys. I would love to hear how some of you if you are watching this and you had to fund your home care agency, or you're planning to fund your home care agency, drop a comment below and let us know. Share with the community, how did you fund your business loan? As I mentioned earlier in the video, I really did pay as I went. Fortunately, I was working at the time, so I was able to kind of tuck away some of the salary that I was receiving. And so that's the majority of how I was able to pay for things. And so I would love for you guys to share your experiences. But as usual, I do hope this was a value add. Good luck for you guys out there that are standing up your businesses. I am so proud. I love hearing your stories when you guys are calling me. Keep those stories coming. Guys, I love this quote, and I know you're familiar with it. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one single step. So I'm encouraging you guys to take that step, take that leap of faith to invest in yourself. And I'll be here on the sidelines and behind the scenes cheering you on. Okay, guys, that's all I have for today. Make sure you like the video if you haven't already. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel, and if you haven't already, hit that bell notification so that you're notified every time I drop new content. Okay guys, that's all I have for you today. Stay blessed.